You think you know the Eastern Front. Mud, millions dead, endless trenches stretching to the horizon. But before the stalemate, before the revolution, there was August 1914. Two massive Russian armies rolling into East Prussia like a steel avalanche. 800,000 men. The German 8th Army, 150,000. The math doesn't work, except it did. In 2 weeks, the Russians lost 200,000 soldiers. An entire army ceased to exist. How do you destroy forces that outnumber you 5-1? If you value documented military history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from Barbara Tuchman's The Guns of August and Dennis Showalter's Tannenberg. Now back to the story. East Prussia, August 17, 1914. General Pavel Rennenkampf's First Army crosses the border with 190,000 men. 400 miles south, General Alexander Samsonov's Second Army masses another 230,000. The pincer movement that will crush Germany's eastern flank and march on Berlin. Russian steamroller doctrine. Overwhelming numbers. Simple math. The Germans know they're coming. Intercepts crackle through wireless stations. Russian commanders broadcast battle plans in clear text. No encryption, no codes. Rennenkampf coordinates with Samsonov over open channels. German radio operators transcribe every word. Troop movements, supply schedules, attack timing. The Russians hand over their entire strategy. Behind the Russian advance lies months of preparation. Mobilization began July 31st. The Tsar's decree activates 37 divisions across the Polish salient. Horses requisitioned from farms. Peasants conscripted from harvests. Supply depots overflow with ammunition manufactured in Tula factories. Russia mobilizes faster than Germany expected. The Schlieffen Plan assumed 6 weeks before Russian forces could attack. They crossed the border in 3 weeks. But speed creates problems. Russian quartermasters calculate supplies for a leisurely advance. Ammunition wagons carry peacetime loads. Field kitchens assume regular resupply from base depots. The rapid deployment outpaces logistics planning. By August 20th, some regiments are already running short on artillery shells. August 20th. Rennenkampf hits the German line at Gumbinnen. General Friedrich von Prittwitz commands the 8th Army. His 17th Corps crumbles. Panic spreads. Prittwitz calls headquarters. Akrastai, we're retreating behind the Vistula River. That means abandoning all of East Prussia, Kaiser Wilhelm's ancestral homeland. The initial clash reveals tactical problems on both sides. German 17th Sennen Corps advances without proper reconnaissance. Russian artillery positions remain undetected until the first salvos. German infantry attacks uphill against entrenched positions. Classical tactical blunder. Within 2 hours, German casualties exceed 2,000. Entire battalions retreat in disorder. Russian performance looks impressive, but masks deeper issues. Artillery crews fire prematurely, revealing positions to German counter-battery fire. Infantry coordination breaks down during the advance. Company commanders lose contact with battalion headquarters. Victory at Gumbinnen succeeds despite command failures, not because of tactical superiority. Helmuth von Moltke, German Chief of Staff, makes the call. Prittwitz is out. Paul von Hindenburg comes out of retirement. 67 years old, fought at Königgrätz in 1866. His Chief of Staff, Erich von Ludendorff, 49. Tactical genius. They arrive August 23rd. Hindenburg brings experience from the Franco-Prussian War. He understands railroad logistics, railway scheduling, troop movement coordination. Skills that seemed obsolete in an age of rapid-fire artillery suddenly become decisive. Ludendorff contributes operational planning genius. He memorized German railway timetables during peacetime staff training. Every line, every junction, every siding capacity. The plan is already waiting. Lieutenant Colonel Max Hoffman, 8th Army Operations Officer, has been studying Russian radio intercepts for 3 days. He knows something the Russians don't realize. Rennenkampf and Samsonov hate each other. Personal feud dating back to the Russo-Japanese War. They fought a fistfight on a railway platform in Mukden, in front of their troops. That grudge will kill an army. The Mukden incident occurred March 10, 1905. Both generals commanded divisions during the Japanese offensive. Rennenkampf delayed his advance. Claiming supply problems, Samsonov's forces attacked without support and suffered heavy casualties. The confrontation afterward turned physical. Witnesses reported punches thrown. Military police intervened. 9 years later, neither man trusts the other's judgment. Hoffman's read the intercepts. Rennenkampf advances northeast toward Königsberg. Samsonov pushes northwest toward the German rear. 60 miles separate their forces. The Masurian lakes fill the gap between them. Dense forests, narrow roads. Perfect for an ambush if you know the timing. You do? The geography of East Prussia favors defensive operations. Masurian lakes stretch for 40 miles between the Russian armies. 7 major lakes connected by rivers and wetlands. Only 3 roads suitable for artillery transport cross the entire region. German survey maps from 1870 mark every trail, every bridge, every ford. Russian maps date from 1895. Outdated, incomplete. August 26th. Hindenburg pulls most of his forces away from Rennenkampf. 1 cavalry division stays behind. Theatrical retreats. Burning bridges, making noise. Rennenkampf thinks he's chasing the entire German army. His scouts report German campfires moving west. Supply wagons fleeing. Victory seems certain. The deception involves precise choreography. German cavalry lights campfires in patterns suggesting full divisions. Artillery limbers move constantly, raising dust clouds visible from observation balloons. Supply wagons circle behind hills, creating illusions of larger formations. Rennenkampf's intelligence officers count the same units multiple times. Meanwhile, 90,000 German troops race south by rail. 24 hours of continuous transport. Troops, artillery, ammunition. The German railway system moves an entire army corps in one night. By dawn, August 27th, they're positioning around Samsonov's Second Army. Samsonov has no idea. German railway efficiency reaches industrial precision. Trains depart every 20 minutes from Königsberg Station. Each train carries exactly 1 battalion plus equipment. Loading takes 12 minutes. Unloading takes 8. Railway engineers calculated capacity down to individual freight cars. The system moves troops faster than armies can march. Russian railway planning, by contrast, assumes traditional movement speeds. Supply trains follow infantry at walking pace. Artillery moves by horse-drawn limbers. Communications. Equipment travels in wagons vulnerable to breakdown. The Russians fight an industrial war with agricultural logistics. His radio operators broadcast constantly. Unit positions. Supply requests. Movement orders. The Germans plot every Russian regiment on detailed maps. Samsonov's 15th Corps, here, 3 corps, there, with 3 corps, advancing on Allenstein. Perfect targeting data. German signals intelligence operates from stations in Königsberg and Marienburg. Radio operators transcribe Russian messages word for word. Translators work in shifts around the clock. Intelligence officers update situation maps hourly. By August 26th, they know Russian positions better than Russian commanders do. The lack of Russian codes stems from bureaucratic oversight. Code books exist in St. Petersburg archives. Distribution to field units never occurred. Radio operators receive instructions to maintain communication security, but no tools to implement encryption. Field commanders assume German radio equipment lacks sufficient range for interception. August 27th, the trap springs at Tannenberg, not the medieval battlefield where Teutonic knights fell in 1410. Different Tannenberg. Coincidence becomes propaganda. Hermann von Francois commands our corps on the German right. Artillery pounds Russian positions at dawn. Samsonov's left flank collapses within hours. The Russian 43rd Corps retreats in panic, abandons artillery, leaves supply trains. Francois employs concentration tactics learned during colonial campaigns. Massed artillery fire on narrow frontages. Infantry advances behind creeping barrages. Close coordination between guns and riflemen. The 43rd Corps faces 12 German batteries firing simultaneously. Russian counter-battery fire proves ineffective. Obsolete artillery pieces. Insufficient ammunition. German artillery superiority shows in technical details. 77mm field guns fire 15 rounds per minute with trained crews. Russian 76mm pieces manage 8 rounds per minute maximum. German shells contain more explosives, better fuses, superior metallurgy, industrial production quality creates tactical advantages. August 28th. Otto von Bellow's I Reserve Corps hits Samsonov's right flank near Bischofsburg. More artillery, more collapse. The Russian 6th Corps disintegrates. Entire regiments surrender without fighting. Officers abandon their men. Bellow's attack reveals systematic Russian command problems. Communications between corps and division headquarters break down completely. Field telephone lines cut by artillery, radio equipment damaged during retreat. Battalion commanders operate without orders for hours. Initiative at lower levels proves inadequate for crisis management. German Reserve Corps perform better than anticipated. Mostly older soldiers, peacetime training emphasized marksmanship and discipline rather than aggressive tactics. But defensive skills translate effectively to encirclement operations, patient fire control, ammunition conservation, methodical advanced techniques. The noose tightens. German forces curve around Samsonov's army like steel fingers. Encirclement. Classic canny tactics. Hannibal used the same principles against Rome. Double envelopment. Central retreat draws the enemy forward. Wings close behind them. Ludendorff coordinates the encirclement from field headquarters near Osterode. Telegraph lines connect all German corps commanders. Updates arrive every 30 minutes. Precise timing prevents gaps in the closing ring. Russian escape routes disappear systematically, road by road, bridge by bridge. Samsonov realizes the trap too late. August 29th. Radio messages turn desperate. Heavy fighting on all fronts. Ammunition running low. Request immediate reinforcement. Nobody's listening. Rennenkampf is 60 miles away, chasing German shadows. The final phase accelerates beyond Russian comprehension. German mobile units seize crossroads before retreating Russians arrive. Artillery positions block every escape route. Supply wagons abandoned in forests. Medical stations overrun. Command structure collapses from bottom to top. August 30th. The pocket closes completely near the village of Frogenau. 15 German divisions surround 8 Russian divisions. Artillery fires from 3 directions. No escape routes. Russian units surrender in battalion-sized groups. White flags appear along the entire perimeter. The surrender process reveals organizational chaos. Many Russian units lack proper flag protocols. White cloth improvised from bandages, uniforms, tent canvas. Some regiments surrender to single German patrols. Officers negotiate terms with NCOs because chain of command has disintegrated. German prisoner handling strains available resources. Prison camps designed for thousands must accommodate tens of thousands. Field kitchens cannot feed the captured masses. Medical facilities overflow with wounded Russians. Administrative systems break down under unexpected volume. The numbers tell the story. Second Army strength on August 26th, 230,000 men. Survivors who escaped the pocket, 10,000. The rest, dead, wounded, or captured. 90,000 prisoners march toward German camps. Samsonov himself disappears into the forest near Willenberg. His body is found days later. Suicide shot to the head. Samsonov's final hours remain partially documented. Radio intercepts show his last message sent at 11:30 p.m. August 29th. Situation hopeless. Corps commanders lost contact, request permission to withdraw. No reply recorded. His staff abandoned headquarters near midnight. Local German patrols found the command post empty at dawn. Search parties locate Samsonov's body 3 days later. Single gunshot wound. Service revolver nearby. Personal effects undisturbed. No signs of struggle. German medical examination confirms suicide. The army commander chose death rather than capture or disgrace. Russian equipment losses stagger belief. 350 guns captured. Ammunition trains. Supply wagons. Field hospitals. Communications equipment. An entire army's worth of material. German inventory teams work for weeks cataloging the haul. Artillery pieces alone represent massive industrial investment. Each gun requires months of manufacture in specialized factories. Trained crews need years to achieve proficiency. Replacement equipment must come from strategic reserves or new production. The Germans capture more artillery at Tannenberg than some nations possess. Supply wagons contain intelligence treasure. Maps revealing Russian defensive positions throughout Poland. Personnel rosters with unit strengths. Equipment inventories showing ammunition stockpiles. Medical records indicating disease rates. Operational documents exposing strategic planning details. If you value documented military history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. Now back to the story. But Tannenberg is only half the story. Rennenkampf's First Army still threatens from the north. 190,000 men advancing on Königsberg. The Germans have 4 days to redeploy before the next attack. Rennenkampf finally receives fragmentary reports about Samsonov's fate. Radio silence from Second Army positions. Refugees streaming northward with disaster stories. German patrols operating in areas supposedly held by Russian forces. The evidence suggests catastrophe, but Rennenkampf cannot comprehend the scale. Russian military doctrine emphasizes offensive momentum. Retreat requires explicit permission from higher headquarters. Initiative at Army command level remains limited. Rennenkampf continues advancing toward Königsberg, despite mounting evidence that his southern flank no longer exists. September 2nd, the trains run again, German troops race back north, same railway network, same efficiency. Rennenkampf finally realizes Samsonov's army has vanished. Radio silence from the south. No contact for 3 days. But it's too late to retreat. The German redeployment demonstrates industrial war capabilities. Railway engineers schedule troop movements while battles continue. Rolling stock returns from prisoner transport runs immediately available for combat redeployment. Supply trains follow troop movements by hours, not days. Logistical coordination reaches mechanized precision. Hindenburg's headquarters moves by train to Marienburg. Communication equipment transfers without interruption. Staff officers continue planning during transit. Railway cars serve as mobile command centers. German organizational flexibility contrasts sharply with Russian administrative rigidity, September 9th through 14th. The Battle of the Masurian Lakes. German forces attack Rennenkampf's flanks using identical tactics. Artillery preparation. Envelopment. Radio intercepts guide every movement. Russian communications security remains non-existent. Rennenkampf attempts tactical improvements based on Samsonov's apparent mistakes. Radio discipline receives emphasis. Code words replace clear text for unit designations. Communication frequencies change daily. But fundamental security remains compromised because code books still don't exist in the field. German intelligence adapts quickly to Russian countermeasures. New radio frequencies monitored within hours. Code words decoded through traffic analysis. Communication patterns reveal tactical intentions despite encryption attempts. Superior signals intelligence maintains decisive advantages. The First Army fights better than Samsonov's forces. Rennenkampf orders tactical retreats, preserves his core units, but the losses mount. 40,000 casualties in 5 days. Another 30,000 captured. The Russian steamroller grinds to a halt on German soil. Rennenkampf's experience in the Russo-Japanese War provides valuable lessons. He understands Japanese tactical methods that resemble German approaches. Envelopment attempts, flanking maneuvers, artillery coordination. His defensive responses prove more effective than Samsonov's offensive fixation. Nevertheless, material disadvantages accumulate rapidly. Ammunition consumption exceeds supply capacity. Artillery pieces suffer barrel wear from intensive use. Medical facilities cannot handle casualty flows. Morale deteriorates as news of Second Army's destruction spreads through the ranks. September 15th. Rennenkampf's survivors retreat across the border. East Prussia is clear. German casualties for both battles combined, 37,000. The mathematics of war just reversed completely. The retreat proceeds in relatively good order compared to Second Army's collapse. Rennenkampf maintains rearguard actions at major river crossings. Artillery covers infantry withdrawal. Supply destruction follows systematic protocols. Professional competence limits German pursuit effectiveness. Russian losses in the Masurian Lakes include substantial equipment abandonment. Artillery pieces spiked, but recoverable. Supply wagons burned, but chassis salvageable. Communications equipment destroyed thoroughly. The Germans capture less material than at Tannenberg, but still acquire significant resources. Why did it work? German railway superiority moved troops faster than Russian armies could march. Radio intercepts provided perfect intelligence, while Russian communications remained primitive. Local geography favored defenders who knew every road and forest path. Personal feuds between Russian commanders prevented coordination. And tactical doctrine from 1870 played against 1914 reality. The strategic impact reaches far beyond East Prussia. Russia loses 200,000 trained soldiers in 2 weeks. Equipment losses cripple offensive capability for months. German victory frees up forces for the Western Front. The Schlieffen Plan gets reinforcement just as the race to the sea begins. 2 German corps transfer from East Prussia to Belgium by September 20th. Railway transport again demonstrates strategic mobility. Fresh divisions arrive at Ypres as British forces dig defensive positions. The Eastern Front success directly influences Western Front operations. Russian strategic reserves must replace East Prussian losses immediately. Divisions intended for Austrian operations redeploy northward. The Brusilov offensive against Austria-Hungary receives reduced support. German success creates cascading effects across multiple theaters. Psychologically, Tannenberg shatters Russian confidence in numerical superiority. The Tsar's army seemed unstoppable in August. By September, doubt creeps through every level of command. If Germans can destroy superior forces this efficiently, what happens when they mass for counterattack? Officer casualties at Tannenberg include many career professionals, regiment commanders, staff officers, artillery specialists. These losses cannot be replaced quickly. Promotion from lower ranks creates experience gaps. Training programs cannot compensate for combat leadership deficits. The prisoners tell their own story. Interrogation reports from September 1914 reveal systematic problems. Russian artillery uses 3 different shell types that don't fit each other's guns. Supply trains carry winter equipment in August heat. Maps are outdated by 20 years. Communications equipment breaks down in field conditions. Standardization failures plague Russian logistics throughout the campaign. Artillery manufactured in different factories uses incompatible ammunition. Rifle cartridges vary slightly in dimensions between production runs. Medical supplies include medications with Cyrillic labels that field medics cannot read. German efficiency contrasts sharply. Every artillery piece standardized. Supply lines run like clockwork. Radio networks coordinate movement down to company level. Industrial war requires industrial organization. Russia enters the conflict with Napoleonic logistics. The final revelation comes from archives opened after 1991. Complete Russian radio transcripts survive in Moscow military collections. Every tactical plan broadcast in clear text, every movement order intercepted by German signals intelligence, every coordination attempt between Rennenkampf and Samsonov monitored in real time. German interception logs show precise timestamps for Russian transmissions. Messages decoded within minutes of reception. Intelligence summaries distributed to field commanders before Russian units received their own orders. The communication advantage reached overwhelming proportions. Modern analysis reveals the true scope of intelligence penetration. German stations intercepted 96% of Russian tactical radio traffic. Weather reports, supply requests, casualty figures, personnel movements, medical evacuation schedules, nothing remained secret. August 1944, exactly 30 years later. Soviet forces overrun Tannenberg battlefields during Operation Bagration. They find German memorial stones still marking Russian mass graves. Forest clearings contain remains of 30,000 soldiers. Stalin orders monuments destroyed. But the graves remain visible from aerial reconnaissance. 21st century archaeological surveys use ground-penetrating radar to map burial sites. Satellite imagery reveals depression patterns across former battlefields. Mass graves extend much further than German records indicated. The mathematics of destruction preserved in Baltic soil. 2 armies entered East Prussia in August 1914. One came home.